The movie begins in the coldest region of Antarctica where a team of researchers is digging into the ice to obtain sample material for their research. Their camp begins to sink as the drill descends and the ice begins to fracture beneath them. Jason too comes dangerously close to falling into the pit, but Jack and Frank save him. Jack then takes a chance and jumps over the hole to get the samples. However, as he jumps back, the ice cracks beneath him and he tumbles to the ground. Fortunately, he is able to cling on with the use of an axe, and his buddies haul him back up to observe the entire ice shelf cracking. A while later, Jack informs world leaders at the UN climate conference in New Delhi that the globe will experience a new ice age that would cause everything to freeze. Jack responds to the politicians' question about how much longer there is by saying that it might take several millennia, but their grandkids will suffer if they don't quit using fossil fuels soon. However, the lawmakers label Jack's statement sensationalist and point out that this would be very expensive. People are demonstrating outside the building against climate change, and a reporter remarks on the snow, which is unusual for this area and causing confusion in the city. Terry, an employee of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, introduces himself to Jack after the conference. Terry accepts Jack's arguments, and the two of them depart to exchange theories. A few days later, a worker at Terry's surveillance station in Scotland observes that a buoy is displaying a sharp drop in temperature. However, his colleague simply believes that a powerful wave must have knocked it over. They don't tell Terry about it when he returns. Huge hailstones appear out of nowhere in Japan, ruining cars and buildings and even taking a few lives. It appears to be a typical rainy day, while in the United States, weather specialists are surprised by stories of Hurricane Noylene. Hundreds of people are being killed by this hurricane, which is the strongest one ever recorded. The astronauts on board the International Space Station witness unusually large storms gathering in the Earth's sky, which startles them. In the meantime, Brian, a buddy of Sam's, and Laura, his crush, are taking a plane to New York. Sam's fear of flying further intensifies when the plane flies into the massive storm and begins to tremble. Everyone buckles up and holds tight as the trembling intensifies and baggage starts to drop all over the hallway when the pilot abruptly declares they will experience some turbulence. Fortunately, it ends quickly, and Sam has to release go of Laura's hand when he discovers he's holding hers. They witness a lot of birds flying west, almost as if they are fleeing from something, and are shocked to see them when they arrive in New York. The truth is that peculiar behaviors, akin to fear, are also observed in farm and zoo animals. While competing and doing really well, Sam and his pals can't help but notice that Laura is constantly being flirted by a boy named JD from a different school. Terry finally discovers the buoy recording the decrease in ocean temperature later on in the monitoring station. After he hears what the employee saw the other day, they quickly ascertain that there isn't a problem because several buoys are reporting the same information. In order to verify his theory, which states that things are happening far faster now than they have in 10,000 years, Terry chooses to give Jack a call. It is only Jack's forecast model that can plot this scenario, while news reports indicate that Hurricane Noylene is intensifying and that the Coast Guard has blocked beaches. A technician at a weather monitoring station in California is spending more time with his girlfriend than working. She's startled when she hears a disturbance, but it's the janitor, she discovers. The technician answers a phone call at that precise moment from a reporter in Los Angeles in distress, informing him that golf ball-sized hailstones are falling. When the technician phones his boss to alert him, he discovers while watching TV that a tornado is beginning to form in Los Angeles. After stepping outside, the man notices that the tornado is larger than usual. Returning to Jack, he and his colleagues watch TV helicopter reports as they document the several tornadoes that are rapidly building up over Los Angeles and obliterating everything in their path. While fleeing in terror, several blow up big cars, and soon after, buildings begin to collapse as well, after suffering damage. The Weather Monitoring Center is hardly able to remain standing. Prior to the two planes returning in time and colliding in the Midwest, the president issued an order to suspend all air travel. The Office of Global Change in Washington, D.C. has an emergency conference where they exchange accounts of unusual and violent weather worldwide. Jack can now clarify that this is caused by the loss of polar ice due to global warming, which affects the North Atlantic currents. Terry's confirmation helps to support this. Moreover, he says that it's only getting started and will soon worsen. Jack's supervisor gives him 48 hours to locate evidence of a climate shift to submit to the government that the climate change is real. Jack is able to write a solid report with the help of Frank, Jason, and NASA meteorologist Janet. He works so hard on the report that he doesn't sleep for a full day. It is just 6 to 8 weeks till a new ice age arrives on Earth, his team discovers when he finally takes a break and completes some computations. Jack receives a call from Sam the following day, informing him that he is stranded in New York due to the unceasing rain that is inundating the city and forcing numerous closures. People are running out to the stores in a panic even though the terrible weather hasn't yet struck Washington, D.C. When Jack meets with the vice president, he informs him that the situation is dire and that they should begin their evacuation, but the vice president chooses to ignore him. In the meantime, snowfall in northern Europe has been falling at an insane rate for the past 24 hours and shows no signs of slowing. In an attempt to locate and rescue the royal family, search and rescue helicopters wind up flying in the center of the storm due to poor visibility. The instruments and blades of the helicopter soon begin to freeze, which makes them fall and crash. There is just one pilot who makes it out alive, but he is frozen to death the moment he looks outside. When Terry learns of this incident, she gives Jack sensitive information so that Jack can examine it with a more powerful computer. This is how they find a hurricane that isn't meant to form over the land. Water is currently dripping out of street manholes in New York, where it has been raining for the past 3 days while all trains have been stopped. The water in Canada erupted by 25 feet in a matter of seconds and also produced extremely strong storms. Just before the power goes out, Sam and his buddies watch these broadcasts on TV. JD then offers to give the group a lift when he says he wants to go pick up his brother. They discover the city is in complete disarray and the river is rising when they exit the building. The situation is exacerbated when zoo staff in the area learn that the wolves have fled. A homeless man is unable to enter the National Library due to his dog, but many people are running to hide inside. The water makes it impossible for automobiles to move, and many people end up trapped inside of them. Laura stays behind to assist a family in a car, inflicting a leg injury in the process. While Sam's group starts sprinting toward the library. Thousands of people are killed and an enormous tsunami suddenly emerges out of nowhere, strikes the Statue of Liberty, and then gradually swallows the entire city, just in time to see the waves sweep across the plaza and onto the first floor of the library. Sam dashes back to the street to grab Laura and drag her inside. Jack completes his calculations in a few moments and phones Terry to let him know that the air is falling too quickly, causing storms to form in Siberia, Canada, and Scotland. That are increasing stronger and will soon spread to other regions. The next ice age will begin in just 48 hours, not the 6 weeks they had predicted. All they can do is attempt to save lives. As there is nothing they can do to stop it, Jack quickly rushes to meet with his wife Lucy after learning of the events in New York. At that same moment, every survivor in New York, even the dog, is attempting to settle in the library. Sam searches for a pay phone since no one is able to use their phones. After stumbling into it, he descends into a flooded floor and promptly notifies his parents that he is okay. Telling him the truth, Jack begs his son to stay inside as the storm intensifies and they would all freeze to death outside. The call ends when the flood hits the ceiling due to the floor's rising water level by the second. Laura believes for a brief moment that Sam has drowned. But he is lucky enough to swim away. Subsequently, Laura looks for dry clothes for Sam and gives him a hug to transfer her body heat. A short while later, there is a weird noise, and when people go outside, they are startled to discover a cargo ship navigating through the flooded streets, smashing the cars beneath it. In the meantime, Jack makes the decision to travel to New York in order to save his son, no matter the risk. Although his supervisor is aware that he cannot stop him, he begs him to attempt contacting the government once again because they will be meeting with the president this time. Jack delivers a powerful presentation during the meeting, urging residents in the north to relocate as far south as they can, possibly even to Mexico. Once more, the vice president objects to everything Jack says, but this time, the president's team swiftly chastises him for not noticing this earlier. Jack says that it's too late for those who are far away because anyone entering that area will freeze. And he creates a line on the USA map listing everyone who can still be evacuated. Once Jack departs, the vice president tries to object to the evacuation once more, but the president dismisses him and accepts Jack's plan. The group decides to have a drink when the building in Terry Station loses electricity. The New York Library is also without power. When the homeless guy sees that the flood has frozen and that people are taking advantage of the opportunity to walk on the ice to travel south, the survivors in the library begin preparing to follow suit. After telling them what Jack said, Sam tries to stop them, but the majority of them ignore him and continue on their path. There are just a few people who stick behind, and as the temperature drops quickly, they are forced to start burning books to prevent themselves from freezing to death. In order to obtain food, they even smash the vending machines and use the rugs as comforters. People are freezing outside the city, regretting leaving the library. And some of them are even beginning to lose their lives. Mexico, unable to accommodate any more American refugees, closes its borders. People begin to cross the river to enter Mexico illegally because all the highways are congested with traffic. the American president strikes a compromise, and a few hours later, traffic finally starts moving again, in return for opening the borders. He will pardon all the dead from Latin America. In a Washington, D.C., hospital, Lucy is reading to a patient when she receives some unsettling news. Everyone fled in fear, leaving no ambulances available. The patient can only be moved in an ambulance. Lucy advises her colleague to go, but she stays with the child to wait for assistance. Meanwhile, in another scene, Jack is taken aback when Frank and Jason offer to assist him in going to retrieve Sam. They drive their truck across the icy terrain using science gear designed for Antarctica. But ultimately they run across a barrier. It is now their only option to proceed on foot while wearing the snowshoes and maintaining their rope connection. For several hours, they are able to walk steadily. But because of the snow, they are unsure of what they are walking on, and at one point they end up walking on top of a building. Frank falls in as soon as the glass breaks, pulling the others under with him. With his axe once more, Jack stops the fall, but the glass beneath him is beginning to break as well. To release their primary supply bag, Frank first cuts the rope's end. However, this is insufficient, so Frank then cuts his own rope. As Frank collapses to his death, his buddies call out for him. Jack and Jason then set up a tent to stay the night. Finally, an ambulance arrives at the hospital to take up Lucy and her patient. The president is likewise taken to safety in the White House. But just a short while later, the vice president learns that the president was caught in the storm and died. Seeing how a massive cloud is engulfing the Earth, the astronauts on the International Space Station snap some pictures to send to Janet. As soon as she spots them, she says that in only 1 hour, the Canadian storm will reach New York. Sam talks to Laura at the library when she can't sleep and eventually lets his feelings become clear to her. In response, Laura gives him a kiss. The gang learns that Laura has lost consciousness due to a fever in the morning. After checking her leg and consulting a medical book, they determined that she had blood poisoning from the wound the other day. Sam decides to go inside the cargo ship to look for medication because the book says she needs penicillin right away or she'll lose her limb. Brian and JD offer to help. The three swiftly arrive aboard the ship, not realizing that the wolves who broke free from the zoo are following them. Since the infirmary door is locked, Sam cautiously climbs around the wall and exits through a corridor window. When he gets inside and lets his companions in via the broken window of the infirmary, Brian finds the medicine. While Brian and JD remind Sam that they should also acquire lunch. Sam wants to return right away. The three are running through the ship when the wolves discover them when they are in the kitchen. Sam strikes the wolf on the head until it releases its hold on Jason, after which they seal the door behind them. The wolf had managed to bite Jason's leg. New York is finally under the storm's eye at that point. Sam realizes this and devises a strategy. In order for his pals to shut the door, he would entice the hungry predators out of the room. The wolves see Sam sooner than intended when he stumbles on shattered glass while crossing the wall outside, running rapidly. He eventually lures them into a corridor and locks the door after making a few turns. In an attempt to break into the kitchen, the wolves move to the opposite end of the hallway, but JD and Brian have already shut that door and are gathering supplies. All of the equipment and an injured JD are loaded onto a boat and dragged from the ship just as the surrounding buildings begin to freeze and collapse. Before the rest of the building freezes, Brian and Sam grab JD and dash into the library's warm area. Immediately, the group strives to strengthen the fire. Jack continues to walk with Jason across the icy terrain until, finally, Jack must pull an exhausted Jason through the snow. He dives right into the snow after finding the storm's eye and, before this part of the ground freezes, he throws himself and Jason through an open vent. Jason finds the tent still up and a few fires burning. Not listening to Jason's suggestion to wait, Jack wants to move forward as soon as he meets him because he believes Sam might not live long. It seems like frozen corpses are everywhere. Jack and Jason who are walking through the snow. Since they only spend the night in the tent to sleep, Jack remarks that although humanity survived the previous ice age, they won't survive this one if they don't take extra precautions going forward. It is at this moment that Jack notices the skies have cleared and exits the tent. His walking becomes easier now, and he and Jason soon arrive in New York, where they see a number of ships caught in the ice and the Statue of Liberty entirely frozen. Jack is heartbroken to discover that his son might have been buried by the snow as the GPS shows they are standing atop the library, keeping their resolve intact. The two discover a gap in the snow and squeeze through a window to enter the structure. When they finally see the light beneath a door and unlock it, they discover the gang is still alive and well. Even Laura is feeling better. A short hug brings Sam and Jack back together. Later, when the vice president assumed the presidency in Mexico, he declared on television that he was mistaken and that he would launch a massive rescue effort to free those who were trapped in the northern states. The movie ends as the crew, along with the dog, is taken away by rescue helicopters. More survivors can also be found. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoy the movie. For more content like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. See you on our next video.